Hi, and welcome to Fan Talk. This week we're going to be going over some of the box office numbers, some movie news, and what's coming out here pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to change this up just a little bit. Let's talk about what's coming out next week first.
Okay.
Because that's more interesting than what happened last weekend.
Yeah.
So tell me about it.
What's coming out this next week?
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's going to be a movie that has "it" in the title.
Two? It's going to be about it too?
Yeah. It's like
Okay,
who's on first? Yeah. Who's on first? No. It's just
It, Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. And everybody's kind of anticipating this movie and getting excited about it. There's a lot of buzz around it. I'm looking forward to going and seeing it. The original was fantastic.
I'm talking about the one a couple years ago. Talking about the
original
back in the day.
back in the day.
Okay.
I thought it was really good, and this retake on it, I've kind of said in some other videos. I was, anytime you do a remake or something that was really good, there's going to be that.
Yeah.
But they've done a really good job. And the first one was really good and creepy. I think there's a little bit too much emphasis on making the clown so scary, which sometimes I think like less is more.
Yeah, definitely.
But definitely some good jump moments. And I've watched the preview for this, and it looks very good. In the preview, this great scene with the girl sitting there talking to this old lady, and
she's very very unsettling.
Unsettling, and all of a sudden you realize that the old lady is Pennywise, and it's just, that's the great thing about Pennywise's character, is the way it tortures people, because it feeds off their fears and their anxieties, and it's not always just this clown coming at you. It's all the little things that he does that it makes him so terrifying.
Yeah.
And this movie actually is coming out early. It's not coming out right in October, so it
has a pretty clear September.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of stuff in its way.
And there's a good chance it's going to leg out all the way through.
I think there's a good chance, yeah.
We'll see what happens. But I'm excited about it. I'm definitely going to go watch it. And
well, just for some comparisons on numbers, Chapter 1, I guess, in retrospect, made 123 on opening weekend, 123 million opening weekend. This is projected to do right at or under that, 95 to 120. And projections are iffy, but, so that might not be a bad opening if it does, at least 100. The first one made 700 million on a $35 million budget. So the second movie was a given.
Yeah, well, and it has to, because this is a story that's told in two parts.
Okay.
Now, the original was told in two parts. The book, it's one book, but it's broken into like two definite pieces. One's them fighting the monster when they're children, and then it's them coming back to finish it. Okay. And so that's basically what this is going to be. And the only thing I can say going into it that could hurt it in the box office is, like, in the original, the second half is not nearly as good. The first half is, really good. It's these young kids, and they're battling the clown. And in the second one, they're coming back. And so it's like they already know what it is. So the fear of it is, and
it's not kids that are doing it this time.
Yeah, and they're adults. And then, of course, there's the whole, it's a spider. Which, again, if you know the whole story, he's not a spider. It's something even more vast than that. It's the lights. It's just a being that has men, and it's...
So what if I never saw the It one from a couple years ago. What would I need to know to walk into It Chapter 2 and be like, okay, I'm up to speed, I can follow along?
Well, if you haven't seen It 1, you want to go and watch it.
Okay.
It's
not something you can just pick up in like a couple days.
You could come in and watch it, and it's still going to be scary and creepy, and you're going to be like, but you're going to be missing a lot from the beginning. It's definitely one of those. I would say go and watch the first one. If you haven't seen the very first one, you're going to probably want to see it.
I'll probably be scratching my head a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go and watch it, and I'll report back and say, definitely whether or not it's one of those you can watch on a standalone. But I would say it's not something you're going to want to do, because the character has a lot of development, and all these characters were kids in the previous film.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of them talking about what happened to them and this monster and what he is, that they're not probably going to do a whole lot of flashbacks to explain. They're just going to expect you're going to pick it up and go. So this is definitely a direct continuation of a previous story. I would definitely watch the original.
Okay, fair enough. And Yeah, so you said the second half, in the book version, you weren't quite as satisfied with.
Well, in the book,
Stephen King phoned it in the second half.
In the book, it was great. Don't get it twisted. In the original series, it was, now granted this was a mini series done for TV, but and it's like this big campy looking spider, and a lot of people were like, when you look at Pennywise as the clown, it's so terrifying. But the thing is
iconic,
but the clown again is just a mask. It is not the clown. It is
just one face of it.
One face of many. Yeah, but the creature is a shapeshifter, and so I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to spin it for this next film. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more terrifying and done a whole lot better. So
we'll see how it does. I mean, it's got a clear window. I mean, because now going back to last weekend, Angel Has Fallen came at number 1 again. So it had 2 weekends of number 1. So it's actually not doing too bad. It's now just for domestic at $43 million. It's equaling its budget and hasn't really gone worldwide yet. So it's going to do okay for itself, I think. I mean, I'm pretty happy for Butler to have another solid one. I was going to talk about it just for a second because I went and saw it last weekend. We didn't get a chance to do a review on it immediately, and rather than put one out now. I thought it was a lot of fun. It did not follow the same kind of formula or script as the first two. I mean, they didn't basically make a Die Harder 2 out of it.
Yeah.
I haven't the same guy 3 times. It's yes, there's an attack on the president that doesn't shut down a city, but this time, spoilers, he gets framed for it. Yeah. And so the movie then at that point is almost like the fugitive kind of movie.
Yeah.
He's got to run from local police. He's got to keep a step ahead of the FBI, and it's pretty clever how they do that without pushing reality too much, because obviously police have helicopters and radios that go a lot faster than you can.
Yeah.
But he gets out of it, in a fairly realistic manner. Also had a bit more of a Bourne Identity feel to it. Not necessarily a shaky cam, but the kind of realistic, gritty, street level feel to it, which is a little different than the other Fallen movies. Also, an interesting thing is I haven't seen this before a whole lot, and I thought it worked well in this instance, but I hope I don't see it a whole lot in film. Is they reduce the depth of focus on the cameras to where
I'm not a fan of that.
To where basically, like if they if they want to focus on the actors, everything from here behind is blurry.
Blurry, yeah.
And then if they want to focus on me, then he in the foreground will be blurry.
And I've seen that in a lot of films. It seems like it's more of a newer...
it's heavily used in this movie.
Yeah.
It makes sense in this movie, in my opinion, because he spends a good portion of this movie not knowing what's going on or who's behind it or what to do about it. And so that out of focus, that tone matches that.
And I understand that, and I just want to take a second to hone in on this because it's a personal thing, okay? But I feel like a lot of films are doing things like this, and as a person, they're like, oh, it's the artistic part of it. It's a part of the storytelling. I'm like, okay, but I'm still trying to watch a movie, okay? And I like to watch a movie. Game of Thrones is a perfect example of this. Like, there's several episodes they did, and it's like, well, it's at night. It's dark. It's supposed to be dark. I'm like, okay.
You gotta be able to see it.
I gotta be able to see the movie, guys. I understand it's dark. It can be dark, and they have some torches, and it's still dark outside, but you light up the sequence so I can see what the heck's going on.
Equilibrium, we mentioned on another video, is a dark movie, but it was shot well to where you can still see what's
going on in the dark. And and they're like, oh, well, it's dark, and a lot of fans are like, oh, get over it. I'm like, what is the point in having an $18 million set and costumes if you can't see anything?
Are they trying to cover up the water bottle?
Exactly, right? It's just like, it makes me as a fan, it makes me crazy. I pay to see a film, and I understand as part of the storytelling. No, just tell a good story, and you don't need that.
Yeah. Circling back to Angel Has Fallen, another filmmaking gripe I had with the movie, not a major one, but it goes back to I want to see it, is the hand-to-hand combat. I couldn't tell who was who. It's like, it's right there on the screen. You see bodies, you see fists, you see things, obviously somebody moving around. You can't tell who's landing which blow, and then all of a sudden you see who's on the ground and who isn't.
Yeah. And again, that's one of those things that is very realistic. And sometimes that's one of those I can almost get past because I've done a lot of hand-to-hand combat and some mixed martial arts and things. And when you're like in C-Lot, you're training to do these hand drills, and so your hands move really quick. And in a real fight, especially life and death kind of situation, like something comes at you, there's no this choreography. It's just blah,
Yeah,
But
I get that, and also some of my beef comes with the for example, the Transformers live action movies, where you see metal fighting metal and you can't tell who's who.
Yeah.
And so that kind of comes from the similar kind of thing. Also, something else you said about the when we're talking about the depth of focus issue on this movie. It's like, it's kind of the thing they seem to be doing a lot more now is that. Well, another fad they went through there for a while in the late 2000s, early 2010s was the lens flares.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they're finally moving out of that, thinking like, oh, that looks so great. I'm like, it looks great in small doses, but not every shot on the starship.
Yeah. And
I'm talking Star Trek here.
Yeah, and again, in the fight sequences too, it's like I understand some of it, and like having a little bit of that's fine. But again, I think it goes back to this is entertainment. I want to be entertained, and I understand that this is choreographed. And if you need to slow it down a little bit for me to see that really awesome move,
or pull back the shot, it doesn't have to be where all I see is like a third of a body.
Yeah,
pull the camera back.
Pull the camera back a little bit so you can see like a little bit more what's going on. I mean, and a classic example of this is John Wick. Look at the John Wick movies.
That shows it can be done.
Yeah, he like moves fast. He's doing all this like awesome like kung fu work, and you can see what's going on. You can tell what's going on, and it's very impressive.
So on Angel Has Fallen, I enjoyed it. It was a very fun movie to watch. It was refreshing. It was formulaic. I said spoilers at this point. There is minor spoilers. I'm not going to completely give away the farm, but they got the mastermind villain, and then he had like the executive villain that's actually doing the work.
Yeah.
And the executive villain who's actually like running everything, I guessed him pretty much right off the bat.
Yeah.
It was obvious. The mastermind villain, I had a guess, and I was confirmed, and I wasn't shocked.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to predict the movie. But also it doesn't need to be full surprises for what it is. It did actually shock me. There was a surprise death in the movie that I was like, I did not see that coming. So, I'll leave that one as a secret for now, just in case you haven't seen it out there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. If you enjoy Jared Butler, especially if you enjoy the Bourne Identity movies, kind of a bit of a thriller, like Fugitive style movies, you'll like it. If you like the other Fallen movies, you'll like it. If you like action movies in general, you'll probably like it. And Nick Nolte was a treat. And there is a mid-credit scene that is so forced, but also funny for a few minutes. That they just take his character and put him in an awkward situation just for the humor of it.
Yeah.
And since it's not giving anything away, his character is definitely the, almost Unabomber style, living in a cabin in the woods, hates the government, has a stash of arms everywhere kind of guy. And
my kind of guy.
Yeah. Very antisocial. And at the end of it, he's like, coming around to be around his family again. He's like in the city. Him and Gerard Butler go to a spa to do a cleansing spa. And they're sitting like in this like zero gravity pools. And, the power goes out, and he's like, oh, screw this, I'm going to pee in my pool. And it's just very awkward. They intentionally put him in this situation because of the humor of that kind of character.
Yeah.
It was funny. So it is a mid-credit scene. Not giving anything away. It's just a bit of humor. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. And I'm happy to see that it landed number one for a second week in a row with only a 32% drop, also being a holiday weekend. That helped that out. Number two, Good Boys. They have getting close to quadrupling their budget on this movie. They only had a 0.4% drop from last week, holiday weekend.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the breakout August that we thought.
It's not going to be a breakout.
It's
a solid movie, and after seeing it myself, I can see why it's not that breakout movie.
It's not super bad.
It's not super bad. It's hilarious though. It's hilarious. It's a great film.
It has a good heart because it doesn't lean on those 12-year-olds cussing jokes. Otherwise, the movie would be done in 20 minutes as far as effectiveness. But has a good heart to it. A good little message about growing up and coming of age.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You had talked to me about the film, how there was one character in it that you thought was going to grow up to be a bad seed a little bit, and like you weren't like totally into that character. And I was thinking when I started to watch it, the first like 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, he's thinking it's this character.
Thor.
And I was like, but like, was that who it was?
Yeah, the singer. No. The character I thought was the main character.
Yeah, me too. Like, okay Thor, I thought you would think it was. And I was like, this kid's solid. And then you get the main character, and I'm like, oh.
Especially at the very end.
Yeah, at the very end. And I see what you're saying at the very end.
Spoilers.
But that was also because that's teenagers.
I know. I was like, I don't like his choices. I see how... Also, okay, choosing girl after girl after girl. Yeah, some people are definitely going to do that, but also choosing to go buy the drugs and do all this. All those were his ideas.
Yeah,
and so
because for him, everything was about that. See, I get that getting to that next step because he was just so crazy about that girl. Is like that was everything, and that was the funny part to me because it was so realistic. Because I remember
like 2 weeks later
being that age, like everything was just about this girl. It was so important that he was willing to sacrifice everything, and then like a week later they broke up, and you're just like, that's
and he's like,
that's
I was her girlfriend
reality.
by the point of that, yeah. But I thought the two guys were just fine. That one, I was like, oh, he needs to think about some things.
And there's things you look at things differently now that you're a parent when you watch films. It's like one of the things I want to start doing on here is like we were talking about possibility of doing like, hey, is this a good movie to take your kids to? Because when you start getting older and having kids, there's like you kind of see things a little bit differently. Yeah. But it was a great film. It's hilarious.
Don't take your kids to this.
Don't take your kids to this.
Basically, if they're wanting to see it, they're going to try and sneak in and see it anyway. You don't need to be the ones taking them to it.
But no, it was hilarious. And like you said, good heart, nice, just well-rounded flick. And
if you liked Superbad, you'll like this one. It's basically Superbad meets Sandlot kind of.
Yeah, it was very good. It was fun.
Yeah. Number 3, Lion King, going up 14%. Once again, holiday weekend. It's making money. We don't need to talk anymore about CGI lions. 4, Hobbs and Shaw, also just a very tiny drop of 0.2%. Doing just fine. Number 5, Overcomer, the more kind of spiritual, religious one that came out. That actually did pretty well for itself. It's made $19 million domestically, no worldwide figures yet, on $5 million budget. That's worth checking out one day. Number 6, Ready or Not, that post-marriage in-laws.
Yes, and I got that in line. I'm actually going to watch that tomorrow, so I can come back and we can talk about it.
So that's at number 6. It's made $20 million on a $6 million budget, and it's domestic only. That's good.
That's awesome.
Number 7, Scary Movies. Or not Scary Movies, sorry. Scary Stories.
Stories to Tell in the Dark, yeah. Which was also a lot of fun. I mean,
it's getting close to quadrupling its budget.
Yeah.
It's good.
And it was an interesting way of telling the stories because the book is actually a character in the story,
Okay.
And
kind of like Never-Ending Story?
Yeah, in a way. It's like, but I don't want to give it a whole way, but it's a fun little flick, and I see them definitely doing another one.
Okay.
So.
Number 8, Dora. It's going international now. It's... It'll be okay. I still have a daughter still wanting to go see that again, so I'll have to go back to that one. Number 9, returning to the top 10, if it didn't already drop out, Spider-Man. Yeah. I think it dropped out last time.
It dropped out and then popped back up.
It came up 223% over last week.
Wow.
Did you know they re-released it with 4 minutes of footage?
Yes, I had heard that.
And they bumped the theaters back up another 2,000-3,000?
No, I didn't know they bumped theaters up. I knew that they re-released it with some extra scenes. And
4 minutes of new footage.
And I did not know it would bump it that much, though. I'm really surprised.
That also, what's been trending in the news on our end of the woods the last week? There's been some people are like, well, might as well go see Spider-Man while he's still in the MCU again.
Yeah.
Maybe those 4 extra minutes would wrap up some things so they don't have to worry about it later. Those 4 minutes were like, oh, he didn't actually say his name at the end of it.
Yeah. Just kidding. That was a dream sequence.
Yeah, exactly. Right? He wakes up.
Yeah. Thank God, yeah.
I do want to go see what those 4 minutes are, honestly.
No, I mean, I'm going to go watch it again. I mean, my son... was just hitting me up the other day. He's like, Spider-Man. He's obsessed with Mysterio. He's got a little toy.
I'm going to circle back to that. Since we're on number 9, I'm going to quickly say number 10, and then I want to circle back to the Spider-Man tidbit I found out recently. Angry Birds 2 rounding out the top 10.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that one. Mysterio. Did you know who was slated to be the Mysterio on the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man? It's meant to be Mysterio in Spider-Man 4, which never happened.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell. In Spider-Man 3, he was the Usher.
Yeah.
And he said you don't want to ruin the illusion to Spider-Man. And that was designed to make him future Mysterio.
Got you. That's awesome, actually.
Because they also had the Lizard, Dr. Was it Connor?
Yeah.
And the third one as well. So they were starting to set up some serious bad guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing is he was a lot of Spider-Man's enemies are people around him and Peter Parker knows. Even Doc Ock, I mean, these are all like characters. And, the Lizard, I mean, he was a good guy. He just...
Bruce Campbell would have made an interesting Mysterio.
Bruce Campbell will make it interesting anything. He's one of my, another one of my favorite cult actors who just does lots of really obscure, cool stuff, and I enjoy seeing him in films. Kind of like Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer had some really highs and some, just the bottom.
The Evil Dead series is great for Bruce Campbell, and he's very good at that type of acting. Guilty pleasure movie, Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep's great. Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, even some of the series he's in, that Burn Notice, he was in that series. He's great in that, So it's like, I like.
It would have been interesting taking Mysterio. I'm kind of curious how that would have played out, but we'll never know, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to some entertainment news.
Okay.
Taika Waititi has decided to join Suicide Squad 2. It's still being directed by James Gunn.
Yeah.
But Waititi's going to be taking on a role in the movie. And
okay.
I wonder if he's bringing some more comedic side to it, because we all loved him as Korg from the Thor side of things.
Yeah.
Like, hi guys, didn't print enough pamphlets. I love that role. So Gunn is still directing, and then I guess after that movie, Gunn is going to go do Guardians 3, and then Waititi's going to go and do Thor, Thunder and Love.
Thunder and Love.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, in the news, there's going to now be a Matrix 4 in the works.
Yep, Matrix 4 is in the works.
With only one of the Wachowskis back, Lana Wachowski. From what I saw, the cast and crew is the cast is signed back, except for Fishburne, who has not yet. Also, I don't know if that means there's a role for him or not, but Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu is continuing his Keanu-sance.
Yep. Well, Carrie-Anne Moss, she died in the last film, so I'm kind of wondering.
So kind of did Neo. So
yeah. So well, I mean, he didn't really die though. I never showed him die. So I think that he's almost like godlike status at this point to them. I think they're going to keep him alive.
This could be a Matrix 2.5.
We'll see, but I'm excited about it. The Matrix, honest to God, is probably. I know so many people that so controversial. People are like, oh, that was really bad, or that's really good.
So many people will say like they should have still stopped at the 1.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I understand why some people say that. The first one just blows you away. I mean, I remember seeing the previews and like, we need to go watch that. It looks really cool. And then you get in the theater and you're watching it, and it's like, what?
Yeah, you're like, I need to go clean my brains off the back of the theater because it just got
blown away. But I enjoyed the other sequels.
Yeah, they were fun.
I thought they were a lot of fun. So
no, actually, what I enjoyed more, the sequels are fine. They happened. Obviously, we can't undo that. There's some great stuff in those sequels too that I really did enjoy. And two things about the continuing storyline besides the first one that are my favorite aren't the sequels. One is the Animatrix series. Some of those some fantastic animation and little short stories in that. And then two, remember the MTV Music Awards? They did a skit, Sean William Scott making fun of the Matrix 2.
Yes, that was great.
And Will Ferrell as the engineer. He's like, I have no idea what I'm saying. Now, it's worth watching Matrix Reloaded just to enjoy that skit.
Yeah, it is.
Sean Pyle. Also, Dark Crystal is out now, and I'm about halfway through. I'm looking forward to us getting together later in this week and talking about it.
Yep, and I'm just going to take a couple real quick seconds because I do want us to get together and do a whole sequence on this. Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance.
Yeah, Vive la Resistance.
Right now, it's at the point where I don't want to say too much because there's a lot of stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Spoilers.
Yeah, wait a minute. That doesn't go with this. But
still wrapping my head around something.
Yeah, but I mean, the Muppet work on it at first, it's almost hard to get used to because our brains are so trained to with all the CGI. But it only took me about 5 minutes into it before you're just in awe of the beauty of it.
And it was like a seamless, and we're not going to spoil anything on this segment about this show yet, but we're just going to talk about the production of it for one. I think this obviously is puppets, but there is definitely a CGI element to the whole thing, and it is seamless where you can't really tell where one begins and the other ends.
Yeah,
it's a very, very good job.
Yeah, and it just looks really, really great. I mean, the thing I really have enjoyed about it so far is just you're watching it on the TV and it's just beautiful. It's like
the whole universe.
It's fun to watch because I mean you're just sitting there. It's
visually stimulating. I mean, it's very good characters, some very well written, some good dialogue. I'm looking forward to finishing up.
Yep.
I'm also really, really looking forward to seeing how it ties into the movie.
Yeah, because so far there's a lot of stuff that keeps me going. Wait a minute. I'm like, David, just calm down. You're 3 episodes in. So.
Yeah. And then last thing I want to mention is, we keep getting together and just talking about different theories for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, and we actually got a few comments. I wish more of you guys would comment on our stuff, just because it gets us talking. And me and Simon started doing this because when we get together, this is what we do anyways. But it's always fun to have some comments to get our brains going. But a couple of comments really got us talking, and we both came to the same conclusion that Rey is a clone for sure.
I'm going to be confident enough to say, based on what we've seen so far, I'm pretty sure she's a clone. I mean, my biggest thing was. And the last movie, The Jedi, the Last Jedi, not the other Jedi, The Last Jedi, when she goes to that portal mirror thing and has to see her parents, you see two figures up for a second, and I'll get back to that. But then she sees endless copies of herself.
Endless copy, yeah.
That also
copy.
That aren't in complete unison. They're in unison, but they're not in sync.
Yeah.
Like one snaps and then like
Yeah.
So that it's not like a mirror would be, which would be instantaneous or speed of light on it anyway. And then there's two shadows. I've seen online theories that one's taller and with the shape of the hair or the head, and then also the length of the arms could be Han and Chewie. And like wondering how that, and then that person was theorizing maybe they actually initially raised her, then left her there, when that's also when he lost the Falcon.
Yeah.
Like, could be, but then they didn't seem to make any note of that in Force Awakens. Like, hey, you're from Jakku, you're a girl, you're about this age, you know how to fly just too many of those things they would have brought it up.
Yeah.
And another one is maybe it's Luke and Vader, and she's a clone of pieces of them, one or the other.
I think. See,
I disagree with this.
Yeah, he disagrees with me, but I think it would be. It's an interesting concept. It just popped into my head because I think about, the actress playing it, and I look at the actors and how they kind of look like they could be the same person when they were much older, and how if that was Luke and Vader, how they're all tied together, is if it's actually say the Emperor's master plan way back in the day is they found this person with extremely strong force powers, and he's trying to clone them to create the perfect Sith or whatever, and that obviously Rey's a clone and she somehow got away or got out, that maybe Skywalker got out, and that she is actually that clone who's grown all the way up, and Anakin actually comes from that clone, and who later became Darth Vader, and had Luke and Leia. But I don't know.
I get that, but I just don't think it's she has never been a big focus on the series other than her death being a big catalyst in Anakin's life.
Yeah,
and they never showed her being force sensitive. It was just said that Anakin was conceived by those mitochondria or whatever they were. But I think it was the Emperor for sure playing around with cloning, which obviously he's done.
Yeah.
And also in the Star Wars extended universe, that was a heavy thing with him cloning himself. Which,
himself.
When he's going to be back in this movie, it's got to be a clone, unless he recovered from the elevator shaft just fine and had blown up Death Star.
Well, and then we also talked it could be a clone from Luke's hand that was cut off in Empire.
So this could be a female version of Luke. It could be a female version of Anakin. It could be a combination of genetic material from several different people.
Yeah.
And then also, to me, this explains another thing. If she was a clone raised by Empire types, it would explain the accent, because, I don't think there's a canon reason for it, and tell me if I'm wrong, that all the British accents in Star Wars are Imperial officers and higher, for the most part. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of British accents. And then Obi-Wan.
I've never even really thought about that.
Obi-Wan might be the only other exception.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it seems like, all the Empire types, especially officers and higher, are all British accents.
I think that's just
there's
casting.
no American. I said it might be it's not canon. It might just be part of the series Bible. Or,
I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, that's kind of interesting. I never even thought about that.
All the rebels are American accents for the most part, unless they're doing some kind of weird accent, like Jar Jar or whatever else. Anyway, she has an English accent, and it's not just because of the casting; it's because they wanted her to. Because Finn is an English actor with an American accent in the movie.
You're right.
So they obviously accents are important for some reason. Huh. So that always made me wonder about hers.
Yeah,
and if she was raised partially by Imperial types, that at least that explains it to a degree.
It does. We'll see. I mean, obviously it was brilliant marketing to have that scene. Everybody's talking about it. Yeah. Everybody's stoked. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's the buzz on the internet, and as Jay would say, "What is the internet?" No, I'm looking forward to some more. I try to. One side of me loves to try and read about leaks and story plot lines and everything, knowing that most of it is people making it up or not knowing what they're talking about. And the other side of me wants to keep away from it and just preserve the surprise. But trailers are the real thing out, so I want to see those and absorb as much of those as I can. And this one has some good stuff. As far as the C-3PO with the red eyes, yeah, it's not going to be like, kill mode C-3PO, but, obviously I heard something about him having to infiltrate some part in the movie, and, if he matches his eyes to do that, then fine, that makes sense. That's a very little thing. But the Rey, I'm not worried about that being a actually Rey turned. I think that's a clone.
That's what I think too. And I'm thinking how awesome it would be if actually, in the end, Rey turns Kylo back to the light side, and you find that she is a Skywalker and he is a Skywalker. And in the end, it's the two of them working together to fight the Emperor and all these clones. That would be so cool. In my opinion, that would be great, because it would make the title have like a double meaning. It's like the rise of Skywalkers, because she's a Skywalker and he's a Skywalker, and he's now been brought back, and it's the both of them whooping butt.
Yeah.
I think
that brings awesome. The thing about, if she is, say she's a clone of Luke, Vader, or combination thereof, and she gets, and her and Kylo have a thing. How weird is that?
It's very weird, but
Luke and Leia kiss, so here we are.
I was just saying, whatever, man.
I did hear one person, and I like this idea. The last trailer opens with kind of like a montage of all the Star Wars scenes, like set to like this like beautiful music, like very uplifting. Somebody needs to set it to like all the silly moments in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Jar Jar zapping his tongue, or but still the same music.
Same music, just all the cheesy stuff. Yeah, that'd be good.
Anything with Padme and Anakin like looking at each other.
Deeply. The chemistry was so good.
Talking about sand. All right, that's the main news for this week. That's our roundup for this week, and thanks everyone for watching.